right.
All right, Angie, you're up.
Well, I asked for a second estimate on this, which I do not have, so neither do you. When I spoke to him about just removing all the evergreens and the barberries, I can control the other stuff. So therefore, I have texted him and asked where that estimate was, because this is awfully high. Because the evergreens are what looks the worst out of everything. The rest of it I can bring down to a level that I can manage.
Yeah. As far as those like low, I don't know what you call them, the evergreens, kind of the low growing evergreens, the short ones, are we planning on taking all those out?
I told him every evergreen.
Okay.
I mean, the ones here along the annex, if we don't do anything here at the annex other than the trees and the creeper, they can stay because they're manageable already and all I gotta do is come in and trim them. Because once we do this, and then we turn around and we add concrete, we're adding more.
Yeah.
So you think
I think if we take out
we just
every
take out the
evergreen and replace where the evergreens were with sod, or if it's in the landscaping, leave it alone, I can control the flowering shrubs, the burning bushes. Those I can bring down to a level where I can handle them.
Okay.
I mean, they're tall now, but they look nice. But once we rip out the evergreens, that's all that's going to be in that area.
Okay.
You know, as far as over here, you just have the 2 evergreens on the ends.
Yeah. And then I think we're wanting to take out both of the 2 tree things.
The trees and the creepers and put concrete in there.
Yep.
This isn't all the proposal that I wanted. This would be the proposal that you actually wanted,
Okay.
but knowing the cost of what this was all gonna be, and this is very, very high.
Okay.
So I've texted him, I'll have to call him in a
Did
little
you
while.
get anybody else to bid on it?
They had another company out of Pratt do it, but I wasn't here when they showed up because nobody called me. They didn't act like they wanted to touch it.
It seems like a pretty easy job to me, but.
It is to a point, except for removing irrigation to make sure that sod stays wet. You know, some of the landscaping, you see him moving the edging, refixing all the edging in the front flower beds that we're keeping.
See, I didn't think for the amount that they were gonna do and then put sod back that it's, I mean, landscaping is just expensive. I don't think that it's out of line high, but it is high.
Yeah.
But relative to what all they're doing, I'm not shocked by this at all. I actually thought it'd be 20 grand. And so, unless I'm reading this wrong.
It's over 20 grand price, it's 25,000
Well,
for
this
everything.
this estimate totals 86, unless I don't have a paper.
Unless
That's
I put it
86,
together
and this
wrong.
estimate totals 43.
Someone had added
That's
it wrong.
14.
But I was just trying to,
I think, yeah, if you add, unless I'm reading it wrong, this total for courthouse and annex, that's a total. And then courthouse and annex,
yeah, I
and then the
suppose I
back page,
probably
that's
read
a
it
total.
wrong
So
then.
86. Yeah, I mean, it's still
So we're at
13 or
20.
14, but I was expecting 20.
I was
But it
looking at
is, I
keeping
mean,
the
that's
costs
high.
down, getting rid
Yeah.
of the stuff that's awful ugly. Because if we rip out every single bush that we have, there's nothing there, it's empty, I don't think you would like that.
Yeah.
And as far as the low maintenance plants that are here, and I'm not gonna talk about the annex, I'm gonna talk about the courthouse. We just don't allow any more planting of things, dividing of plants and moving them. We leave them alone. If you want to divide something, you take it home, you give it to somebody, you don't replant it at the courthouse.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wait and see what they say.
Yeah, I was expecting a second one, so
Yeah.
there's only one here.
See,
Okay.
at one time, we had problems with the west side by the west door of drainage. And I think we dug down and put in a French drain and got that water to get away from the building because it was coming in
At those,
to
or
the
in that one room.
conference area.
And we also put the pipes on the,
Yeah,
on the downspouts.
yeah.
Get
That
away from
helps.
the building. Because there was a negative grade there.
Okay.
If you want to,
I'll just need to
We've
call
got-
him again.
we got about 25 minutes before our next appointment comes in. Do you want to recess and have Angie kind of take us out there and show us exactly what she's talking about? Are you following what she's saying, or you just want to wait till the other bid comes in?
I can imagine
Okay.
all the evergreens, but if you.
There's like, I counted them, there's like 12 to 14 evergreens, not including the barberries up on the corner.
Mhm.
Okay. So if they pull those out, then we'll basically put sod back in there and then change the sprinkler system to where they do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
especially in the two big areas along the sidewalk that need to go.
So will we still, like the front area up there on the corner, we were talking about removing that stuff and then just
Still put
making
it
it
to concrete.
all concrete? And then this deal out here where these spreaders are at, that ground's kind of sloped?
Then
So-
we're gonna put concrete in there also.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, still do that. Sounds fine with me.
Okay.
I guess I'll just make a phone call,
Tell them to give out another
second
estimate.
next.
Yeah, if they email it to you or something. you can
They
shoot
email
over
it to
us.
Lisa, so we'll.
Yeah, she can shoot it over to us. Okay.
I pushed for this one.
Yeah, it's hard to get them to come good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
welcome.
I'm gonna do all three of these at the same time. I'm going to accept the minutes of March 20th, or April 20th, excuse me. April 27th and April 29th.
You already
I
seconded?
second, sorry.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes for the April 20th, the April 27th, and April 29th meetings. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Sorry, I had a stroke.
You kind of looked dazed and confused for a minute.
I was trying to figure out in my head what that third meeting was. I had forgot that we had a meeting Friday.
Yeah,
We had the non-meeting, and then a meeting, and then we had the special meeting.
yep.
And I was trying to, I was in my head like, what the heck?
Did you glaze over there? for-
Yeah, Todd was looking for a second, like I opposed the minutes.
And then put motion carried 3-0. You don't need to put that first sentence, yeah, there you go. And the same way with the tax corrections, Brenda will probably move and Garner will second to approve the tax roll corrections.
I'll make a motion to accept the tax roll corrections.
See, that's more.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the tax roll corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Commissioner.
We have anything else until?
Oh, I got one thing, since she gets caught up, Mike's caught up. Question about the Neola Cemetery, about being on the taxes. Are they in the Stafford Cemetery District? Are they by themselves? Are
The Ola
they-
Cemetery District has its own district.
So do they tax? Okay, I was informed that they were not getting any money and they needed,
They need to up their budget then. Drew, Zink is involved in that. Lila Truitt used to be, but I think she went off that board. But Drew Zink's the one that I
That
dealt
was
with.
who I was talking to.
They have a cemetery district.
They
He
do
was
have-
talking about wanting to expand it,
Yeah,
and I don't know how you do that. You have any idea about how to expand a cemetery district?
No. Oh, wait, I just did one last week. Yeah, I remember now. No, I have no clue.
I don't know how you
would
do
that be
it.
restricted to the township itself? Did it
Not
seem?
necessarily,
Not-
because that's what he, I think, is wanting, is York Township to be all-inclusive of that cemetery
Mhm.
district. Well, Stafford comes down into it, Stafford Cemetery District in that corner. But I don't know how you go about changing district lines. I don't have any idea. But no, they're a budgeted
They are
cemetery
a budget,
district.
okay.
Yes. They just need,
But just not enough.
well, that's on
Yeah, I
them,
understand,
so.
I mean, I can do some research if you want.
if you would, please. I mean, it's a nice cemetery, and it's well
Beautiful.
maintained,
Mhm.
Where's the old cemetery at?
south of Zenith,
Southeast corner of the county.
southeast corner. And then I got a text from Mark Gilpin, and he was wondering if it'd be all right if he could get some people together to take out the, or remove all the dead brush, all the limbs and stuff. So definitely might get back to him. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, neither do I.
Nope.
And,
Is Matt still gonna get there at some point?
Yep. He called me and was wanting to, me to run him down there, and when it works for me, it doesn't work for him, and it works for,
Mm-hmm.
he's got his two little girls quite a bit. But he said he'd get her done.
so then we'll have Ryan go down and probably spray it now to control the weeds? Or
Yeah.
when is the opportune time for that? Or to just sterilize
I
it?
mean, he could sterilize the ground right now and that would be fine. Speaking of Ryan spraying, should we have him spray this lot where we tore down these houses over here?
I would think so.
The grass is starting to grow back and it's rough enough to where they're not gonna be able to mow it.
Yeah, I think I'd have him
Jubilee
spray
and
it.
stuff coming up. I would imagine we should just smoke it.
And I'd also like him to, kill those trees inside the fence
Mm-hmm.
down there.
At
Rob's deal.
Impound.
Yep. We've been after him that quite a while.
Message Cindy and see if Ryan's down there.
Okay. So I guess the next thing in regards to Taylorville, we'll probably have to purchase a gravestone.
Can Jay get that for you?
Hmm?
Can Jay get that?
Yeah. Because when we were down there last fall, there was only 2 bases left in that. And I presume one of them is the Civil War veteran.
Yeah. Let's see if he can run up here real quick so we can talk to him. While you've got time. Before everybody forgets.
I didn't remember this one, so.
I don't know, I'm just.
Yeah, Mike, and I guess we can do it.
Yep.
We'll do it. Does Mike need, you got something that you need to do?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I just did.
We need to talk to you at some point about real estate acquisition, in executive session.
Okay.
And also
Just
contract.
whenever.
You wanna do that
Yeah,
now?
no,
Also
Yeah,
a
we can-
contract issue you wanted to talk about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
do
can
that.
do it right now. We
Yeah.
have 15 minutes.
Ryan's on his way up real quick.
Oh. Yeah,
Well, it's,
From
he's
his
down at
office
his
down
office.
there.
Let me say it one more time.
Look at 5 minutes.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we don't need long.
Let's do 10-minute executive session.
Okay, I make a motion, we go into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss, real estate acquisition with county attorney, Nicole, commissioners.
For, how long time is it?
10
minutes.
10 minutes.
Second.
Pursuant
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session for 10 minutes.
to the
All in favor?
attorney-client
Aye.
privilege.
Aye. Motion passes.
Things, this lot that we tore down the houses on, Do you think that you can smoke that? And-
Yeah, Bill talked to me about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure somebody
Yeah.
was, because I saw weeds
Starting
and
to-
stuff
becoming-
sprouting, and then it's too rough to mow it. We gotta let it
Right.
sit and
I don't
settle.
want to get a little growth before we spray it, so
Yeah.
there's something on it.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's not blowing?
yeah, yeah. We just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, Bill had said something.
And then, the trees, we're out at a fire meeting the other day, looking around, and there's some trees growing up in the fence around Rob's, compound. Do you think that we can hack and spray those, or torch them
Where?
somehow? Rob's impound at,
Oh,
By the EMS?
behind the EMS. There's a fence around where they're parking, seized stuff.
Well, I can get, yeah. Chainsaw. Round up. Got some tree.
Yeah.
And any little things I'll just spray. I haven't got, still have to do the Kim Trin, that DMS and the health department around here. Have to get that.
Okay.
Feeling better with the, we should go down, they're about doing that.
Chemicals will work better now.
They do.
And then Taylorville, the cemetery.
Where?
Yeah, that's what we said.
That's what we said.
8 miles south and 2 miles west on the north side.
Yes. I've sprayed, I haven't checked it again, I sprayed, I went down there and kind of on my own because it was just coming up in big weeds and stuff. And I took here to here to make sure all 3 burial plots were in it, and I just sprayed the whole thing. I didn't bare ground it, I just put broadleaf on for now. But I was gonna talk to you about it, if you want the whole thing under the trees and everything sprayed, or if you just want that area there where the,
Just that half acre.
I'd say whatever's easiest for you.
Yeah, whatever's
But
easiest,
the-
and I don't
the-
mind smoking it either.
Yeah. Whatever you want to
There's
do
a
down there,
guy,
Ryan, that's fine.
he's gonna take out the brush and the dead limbs and stuff and clean it up. And then I thought after he does that, then
Okay.
we can spray it.
because it's there, I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Whoops. And so I went basically this wide, to make sure, because there's,
Well, looks like
there's
the
a
brush is
little,
already gone.
well, I moved out of the area where I sprayed, I moved all the brush
Yeah.
outside.
So did you drive through there or just
No, I
along both
just
sides? Oh, back. Okay.
Yeah, and this is it's just between, basically this tree and that tree, which encompasses all 3 burial plots, front to back, I sprayed.
Okay.
But I was gonna, talk to you about it. I haven't gone up there to see what it's done.
Well, we're
But I
gonna,
didn't know if you wanted the whole under the tree, all under
Yeah.
the trees, because I mean, it'd have to be backpacked, because I don't want to kill the trees.
because we're gonna fence it.
I don't think killing the trees would be a bad thing, would it? I wouldn't lose any
Whatever
sleep
you want to do.
over the trees.
Okay.
So you walk in there off the road? Now, everything out to the road is our property, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to drive
But
in
it was
there,
probably tall Ryan, he didn't want to
No,
get
and
it.
it's still fenced.
yeah.
I-
So if you need to get in there, that's our property.
Yeah,
But, I mean, I just assumed you'd let him still keep farming that even if you're.
yeah, we're going to,
Yeah.
we're just gonna fence right there around
Around the
that deal.
Okay.
But it is technically our property from the road out to it.
So if you ever wanted to get in there, you
Okay.
can.
But yeah, so right now, I just backpacked the area, basically around the.
Yeah, and we've talked to Hildebrand about that. You're not gonna step on his toes by driving across there if you
Yeah, it's
have
just,
to.
it's just right.
Yeah,
Have you sprayed Prairie Chapel yet for stickers?
I came treated around around the fence of the stones, but I didn't spray it. I'll get up there and get that.
I assume Belia's still mowing out there for you on Prairie Chapel?
Cause she,
we haven't changed
well,
it.
she's the one that called me, if I would Kim treat around
Okay.
the stones and the fence, but then I didn't put down the
Okay.
cremation.
Put that on your list of things to do.
Okay.
Do you need a piece of paper?
That's gonna have to be next
It's
week.
in the hole.
It's gotta be next week, tomorrow,
Tomorrow is
heading to Stillwater.
Friday, I'm heading to Dallas.
Braden graduates Saturdays.
That's awesome.
The youngest is getting out of college,
Woo-hoo.
It's an exciting day, huh?
except if he gets in med school, then it starts over.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Just sign on the dotted line.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Evaluation.
it.
Can I just have
What
my
day do you
evaluation
have?
now?
No.
And you'd
I
like to
don't
talk
think
to
they
you about
probably
it?
even done it.
Like to get out of it quicker.
Did I done these already?
I've got the
Yeah, we
sheriff's
got it.
department's turned in.
We'll just
and the sheriff's
okey
turned in.
dokey.
Yeah, but, we still wanted to hold off on it since we have. the money.
We just about have our
There's a couple of those comes down.
last two septics from last year done. Contractors have been so far behind, but we're getting it, those have to be done in May, by May. And one of them will be what you agreed to help with, and the other one is through the conservation district. So,
Where are we at on helping with, I had somebody ask me about that the other day. Where are we at on cost sharing? You know, we've been kicking in money with that.
The only-
Was there a
there was
specific
just-
amount?
well, it was just for last year's deal, is what I remember, it's just for last year's, so as far as the county kicking in, there isn't any. It'll just be the
Unless you
conservation
would
district,
decide
unless you
to.
want to do it. But yeah, as far as that goes, there is no more, as far as you're kicking in, it's just
Mhm.
whatever the conservation district can do. And that was 4,000 last year, and I don't know what they're gonna be able to do this year.
Yeah.
So, but like I say, we'll have that finished up here in May.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you,
All right,
Ryan.
thanks, Ryan.
All right, we're ready for you now.
See ya.
That's small. I didn't realize I had another. one in front of me.
Every single word.
Let me get my,
That's all you need.
type of text now.
Okay. That's for Nicole. How we doing, ladies?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Everything's gonna look so pretty next week.
Yeah.
Definitely look different.
Yeah, for sure. You want to give it over there? All right. You. All right. My name is Marissa Nancy. I'm with Juvenile Services, and we're here today, well, I'm here today to present my budget. And so Amy, I'm always learning from her. So this is a briefing sheet like what we do in Barton County, and so I just put it on there to make it a little bit easier to read of the other 40 pages behind it. But for Juvenile Services, our allocation from the Kansas Department of Corrections, the total amount is actually on behind that first tab on your packet, which is going to be $796,239.01. On the briefing sheet, I just broke it out because they are specific as to what programs I can use them for. So it's not just one entity. So the bulk of our state block grant is that $635,847. And with that big bulk of the state block grant, we have core programs that we want to operate for the entire district, which is Barton, Russell, Rice, Stafford, Ellsworth. Barton, Russell, Rice, Stafford, Ellsworth. There you go. And so the core programs are going to be intake and assessment, the immediate intervention, juvenile intensive probation, and community case management. Intake and assessment is the biggest, and that's our 24/7 with intake and assessment with our law enforcement partners. Last year, we processed 464 youth. The biggest component is just making sure that we're being good stewards of not just our time, but also the law enforcement's time. And so one of the things that we really strive to look at is how many kids are going to detention, using our detention instruments to make sure that the right population is going to detention. And so for Stafford County last year, we had 2 youth go to detention. One of them used our detention tool, and then the other one was an out-of-state runaway. If I recall, she was from Florida. When kids are from a different state, it's an automatic detention just because there's a lot of things that we don't know about them. And so for everyone's safety, it's always just that automatic detention until we can get more information. So 2 out of the 464 is a good number for you guys, and so we're doing what we need to. As far as our immediate intervention, that's our diversion program. And last year we had 68, that's just more along the lines of, how many are repeat offenders versus how many of those first-time offenders just make a poor decision and then can go through our program and be successful. And so for our success rate last year, we were in the 90s. And so it's a really good opportunity for some of those first-time offenders offenders. We see a lot of like the tobacco possession, minor in consumption, maybe some misdemeanor battery type things, but the courts do have the authority to do like a post file if there was a felony, like maybe criminal threat, or even maybe the damage was over the threshold of the $1,200 or so. But otherwise, the other program that we have is the $128,313, and that's our parent project. And we really had good success rate with that program last year. Of the 19 families that participated, we only had one family's child come back through for a behavioral incident. And so we just keep trying to get the information out there. One of the things that I really was worried about when we started the program was whether we would have enough referrals, because sometimes as parents, it's that hard piece of, this isn't going well, this is hard, I need help, and then the shame and vulnerability that comes with that. And so when we got the funds for that program, I was thinking, we may have to look at court orders and things like that. We've never had to have a court order, and we've had full years every time. So that's pretty exciting to be able to, just that word of mouth and the families wanting to have success. One of my goals last year was really to get the program for our Hispanic population. And so I had one of our contractual people trained to be able to facilitate the class. Because at the time we had a lot of families that were like, yeah, we'll do it. But then by the time she got through the training, it was like they all, had scattered, and we couldn't get them engaged again. So she's been facilitating this last quarter and last year too. And so we had a Hispanic lady in the class last year, and she was like, we need this class. We need a Hispanic class. And so with her being our champion, we are starting our Hispanic class tomorrow. So that's just
Good. Yeah.
I know, it's just exciting to see how that works, and that, we just have to keep persevering, and we'll get them to the table. So I know that's a lot of information, that's Amy being so good to guide me here to give you a little breakdown as to what that looks like, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or anything you might have. We were flat funded again. We did not get any additional funds. Like I said, it just looks a little different because ours are broken down to the programs. We get the bulk for the state block grant, we get the bulk for just evidence-based programs, and then the bulk for the parent project. So they just break it down a little bit different. And I'm not an accountant, so it really hurts my brain sometimes. And yeah, if you guys don't have any questions, I just accept a recommendation to approve my budget and to submit it. Yeah, the very back page is the breakdown of the state block grant, if you're all the way to that back page for the budget. One's budget is for the parent project, and then the other one is for the state block grant.
23 budget for Juvenile.
So you need a motion to approve your 2023 budget. So I'll make the motion that we approve the 2023 budget approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the budget for the 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You don't need a signature. Oh, he's got
I passed. Yeah, I'll recycle.
Unless you'd like to keep it.
Yeah.
Don't have trouble sleeping at night.
I'll keep this one.
Yeah,
Thank
you want this one too?
it. Yeah, the bottom, the back.
That one's different. Here you go, sir. That one's his, and then this one, these two are yours.
Okay.
Because you have to break them down into two different methods.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah, I need.
Oh, you need that one?
I need this one. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Now you're this one.
Okay. So Marissa does all this, saying how nice I did on breaking down, and then I didn't give you that page.
Oh.
I was like, what?
Kicking under the.
What's happening? What I did do is just include the recommended motion, so that's what I've included, so. You're just gonna have to endure me the rest of it.
Do you try to keep the budget or anything?
Okay, so, my name's Amy Boxberger, I'm with Central Kansas Community Corrections. Just real quick, the first page, I just put the recommended motion, just because sometimes they get a little wonky. So I'm just here to ask for your permission to submit our fiscal year 23 comprehensive plan. Real quick, I just wanted to go over with you, first off, what our structure looks like, because sometimes I just assume that people know, and what I've learned, especially with our news articles lately, is that we're throwing out words and it can look different. So you should have a page like this, and it's just talking about, so when you have the judicial branch is oversight and funding for court services, which is typically traditional probation or court services probation. They supervise misdemeanor probation, low-risk felonies, they're assigned by district court. They also do compacts for misdemeanors. So then, under the executive branch, the Kansas Department of Corrections provides our funding, but we are actually Barton County employees as our administrative county. So everything that we do is Barton County employees, but then all of our money, we submit a grant, so everything just funnels. So then the salary, the benefits, the longevity, anything that we do, they can fire me and Marissa. And so then we're supervising moderate to high risk felony probation, and then also Senate Bill 123, it's a mandatory, which is a felony drug possession. So also, and then you have, of course, facility, which they would do in prison. Post-release is parole, they are also state employees. But those are the people that have already gone to prison and they're out on parole. So just kind of an FYI. What makes us unique is that, we do our comprehensive plan based on our local needs for our communities that we know. Because we know that our needs are much different than Wichita's, than Sedgwick County's, or Shawnee County, also maybe very far rural. So we get to be very unique in what our specific needs are. And so then that's what we are kind of looking at. What can we do now to help have a safer community later, right? So if we do kick out folks and we're really trying to transition from really being those referees that we're just like finding every fault that somebody has on their probation, and really trying to be more of a role of a coach. And so that it's like, I see you, let's try to redirect, let's see how we can do it. Because, just like with the parent project, it's those relationships that are changing old stuff. It's not prison, it's not jail, it's, no one's getting better there. So we always have a little, not always, but sometimes we can have a little riff with the county attorney, because that's, the prosecutors, that's what their job is. They want to make sure, right? And so we're trying to say, whoa, let's try to find we want to be mindful of public safety. We're not going to sacrifice that. But we do want to try to figure out, if you have a daily IV user, are we making any progress with somebody, and try to recognize that. So I think that the culture has been changing. I mean, I've been here year after year, like you probably, it's just shifted, right? But our outcomes are getting better. And so last year we had only a 15% revocation rate. The year was kind of abbreviated because our system changed, and it's still something. But we are trying to get real-time understanding of what is influencing change in that. So anyway, that's kind of where our shifts are. On the third page, we have a breakdown of what our budget is. Our budget, again, is flat funded, which is always a little frustrating when we're meeting and beating goals and then we're not recognized for that. Although I will say that the governor just signed some increases of our salaries so that we can be in parity with the court services. So that's like new as of like last night at 8:30.
that was a good news, because we've been kind of advocating for that with our legislators, but anyway, sorry. But this is, so we also did apply for and received a federal grant that's helping to offset some costs, because, you know, when we're flat funded, what other cost is staying the same, right? So it's actually a decrease when we're getting flat funded. So that's helping with that. It's a 3-year grant. In the past, I've talked to you guys about those 120, 180 prison sanctions that the court can do, like right before, if they've been before the court, they're not getting it, the court had the option of sending them to prison for this short stay that was supposed to be like some miracle fix on behaviors, which absolutely tanked. And so no one's getting better in prison. In fact, I would argue that for the folks that, you know, yeah, because you're putting people in prison that never would have seen the inside of a prison. And then we're expecting them to come back and like apply what change, what skills are we asking them to apply? So then our revocation rates were a lot higher for that population that had gone to those 120, 180s. So anyway, they finally turned on the light switch. They've phased those out. So anyone sentenced after 2019, so we're like there's a few stragglers that may still have a few opportunity, they were just opportunity for graduated sanctions. The attorneys argue like this is their one shot, they are, you know, it's a mandatory thing. But anyway, those are getting phased out. So our federal grant is trying to find some replacement something, because we still have to respond to risk. And so this is gonna be something that is, we're really trying to influence with technology. It's a smartphone application, really getting people in their schedules, because a lot of time, and then just working with them on, a lot of people that, when they disappear, there's nothing we can do with them, right? And a lot of times they're not coming in because they're gonna have a positive drug test, they don't wanna go to jail, so they're just avoiding, and then it almost makes them riskier, because the folks that are getting revoked on our program are getting revoked because they've committed new crimes. And by the way, we're only asking for revocation if they've got person, crime, distribution, or have a gun. Well, guns and distribution they're almost hand in hand, right? So then the people that are getting revoked, it's almost a higher risk. But then it's like, what have we perpetuated by constantly refereeing them into, like, if you come in one more time positive for drugs, you're going to jail, well then why would they come in? You know, so then it's just like this, you can just see the spin-off of this crazy cycle. So, I don't know, it's just taken a long time to get here, and we're still a work in progress, but that's kind of what we're trying to influence. And we still want to follow evidence-based principles, and that's kind of what the grant supports. But really, with flat funding, we're just trying to do better with what we've got, not trying to, I don't have extra money to reinvent the wheel, except for the extra federal grant, and that's where my efforts are kind of going again, so. Anyway, so, kind of going back to that first page, I'd be happy to answer any questions, of course. We've got, otherwise I'm asking for your approval to submit our fiscal year 23 comprehensive plan.
As stated.
That's
I make a motion to approve the County Correction Comprehensive Plan and Behavioral Health request for the fiscal year of 2023 for Central Kansas Community Corrections, and approve the submission to the Kansas Department of Corrections.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm not gonna repeat that. Everybody in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
So your revocation rate is 15% last year?
It was for last year.
So it's lower than what it
Yeah,
was the previous year?
Yeah, we were at 25%, or,
Yes.
you know, we're usually
You
hovering
didn't
around
make
that.
last year you didn't make the goal.
It was like by 25.7,
Yeah.
something like that. So, definitely, I think we're just gaining ground on, you know, because I feel like some of these people can still pull out in their pocket, like, remember, this is what you used to do, blah, 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 you know, and so then there's a trust issue that we're still trying to influence, but, yeah, I mean, I think we're doing good stuff.
So you met your goal for 2021?
Yeah, we exceeded.
So next year, your goal will be higher?
Yeah. You're supposed to beat it by, you're supposed to beat it by 3% if
Yeah.
you make your goal.
Yeah.
Don't, that's when my brain started going, they just get you.
Well, that's what I'm just like, when you're at 90% success rate, and it's like, I'm okay with 92%.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
You
they
know-
expect you to get a little better every year?
yeah.
And then
Like,
they
we're
say,
about
well, we're
here.
just, you should always be striving for better. No, you should be striving to learn to see what we're doing out here, but I'm trying to put my happy smile on.
Yeah.
You're right. Anyway,
Because there's bound to be bad apples.
of course there is. And if I came in here and said we were 100%, I mean, Mike would string me up by the toes, right? I mean, it's like, but not everybody.
It's true.
You know? It's like, there are people, there's public safety, there's bad people. We get that. And there's bad people, there's people that do stupid, bad things when they're under the influence. And that's what we're trying to manage. It's really hard to, it's just, human behavior is interesting, But anyway, I'm happy with, I do have one more thing. Oh, sorry guys. So, I don't know where you're at as far as our benefits.
Well, we've
Have you guys
got 3 requests coming today.
Well,
Yeah.
can I put my, I
Sure.
have a
Yeah, you
letter
can request.
and, we're just kind of tying back the issue with drug use, with the pandemic and, isolation and all of those things that the overdose rates have definitely increased over the course of the pandemic. And so I'm requesting some assistance just for cost sharing on our drug testing program, just to keep people coming in and doing what they need to do. So I wasn't sure what what your guys' process was, but I just wanted to provide you guys with a request.
We're compiling a list.
I understand, and, you guys know where my heart is on
Yeah.
all of this stuff, and, we do have.
This is just to provide more drug tests for your
Yeah,
office?
yes, so our.
Is that because they're more expensive now, or is it because you're doing more drug tests?
Both.
Both.
They are more expensive and also with our, like I said, when I was trying to, with our budget being flat funded and nothing else being the same, then I kind of had to assess like, where is it that we could maybe find some gaps that we could get some assistance from our smaller counties, or from all the counties actually, because I went to Barton County and, for a request, and they said they would only help us if we sought out assistance from all of the counties. So that's what I am doing. And I am not a salesperson. I do not like asking for money.
So how many drug tests did you do last year for Stafford County cases?
Oh, I would have to get back with you on that information. I would have to get back with you.
Okay.
So, anyway, I'll leave that
Okay.
and we'll move forward. So, thank you, and we'll
Thank you.
be back in probably September
Okay.
for our outcomes for this
We're,
fiscal year.
I'm trying to supplement our general fund. We have umbrellas out front for rent.
Oh, do you? I don't hear it
But
anymore.
it's,
I think I can run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't rain very long here.
We're gonna recess for 5 minutes so I can.
Might be Joel or Lee.
I'll speak at once.
Well, last time we were here, we talked about kind of developing a better plan to present to you guys, and you, I think all of you have it. We put together kind of what we, have developed and are looking at going forward. Do you have any questions with what we had sent you?
2 locations in St. John and 1 in Maxville. Has Stafford communicated any needs towards childcare or?
So right now, they've been fairly stable. The survey that we did in the fall showed they probably could support another childcare, like in-home childcare for 10 spots. We currently are in talks with a business over in Stafford that would have potentially space for us to have someone operate out of. And then we were looking ahead that if the Fair Board's moving forward with their building, that could be a prime location to include a daycare space. So knowing that there's not a high demand for an aide and not wanting to oversaturate the market,
Yeah.
we weren't looking at something immediately.
Okay. But your survey that you did really showed a need in St. John and Maxville
Correct.
particularly.
Obviously, we didn't have time to read it all.
Okay.
Yeah, we had one after the other this morning. So Stafford County Eco Devo will be the fiscal sponsor, and they will own the properties. What is 209 Main Street right now?
So currently it's vacant. It was most recently a church, and prior to that was Mary's Kitchen or Mary's Cafe.
Oh, okay. On the east side of,
It's on the east side, it's right across from the post office.
It's directly across from the post office, beside the city office and Mitch Menace's mortuary service.
so it's already got kitchen facility and,
It does not have a
No
kitchen, so
kitchen.
the industrial kitchen has been removed. It has all new flooring and there's a bathroom. And so, there's currently like a platform that would need to be removed. It's just plywood though. And then in the back, you'd kind of wall off a section to allow for the, like furnace and stuff to be non-accessible during the day with like the children around. And then you'd put in kind of like a little kitchenette.
Where does this modular come from?
So, the Mountain Home Company, they deal in used modulars, and so, the one we're currently looking at is currently being stored in Wichita, which is helpful because that will reduce kind of the expense of bringing it here. So they get them from different places, and then you can see the stuff they have in the liquor.
Yeah.
So they're based out of Tulsa, though.
How old of a home is that?
So it is like a 2007, I believe. But essentially, once it's put in, it will have the same integrity as like a stick-built building. So with the ones we've looked at and what are available right now, probably the biggest thing would just be updating flooring, but otherwise it's in pretty good shape.
And you have a site, Eco Devo has some lots or?
We own a couple of different lots in town that would be good, or if there's a better location to site it on, we could look at acquiring property.
Do you have providers lined up for these two places already, or is that kind of a work in progress?
We have rental interest. We have a number of people who have indicated that they're interested in being providers, but they don't want to provide out of their home. And so
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to know
until we can advertise that there's a space to really, truly, like, lock people in. In Maxville, there was interest, they don't currently have a licensed facility, but some different individuals provide childcare because it's a need. And so I know there's at least been interest among some of the unlicensed, if they had a space outside the home, they would look at getting licensed and operating. So I don't think it's gonna be an issue as much to try to find providers. The biggest barrier right now is locations.
I think once people see things moving along, you get that interest.
Yeah. Oh, I see right here, you talk about Stafford. That's something that we will hear as commission nurses. So that's why I wanted to know that. 70 to 100 children.
Yes, that's the current need from doing the needs assessment.
And 70% of those are in St. John.
Yes,
So 60 kids in St. John?
around that.
Ish.
Where did you say you're gonna move that trailer in?
So economic development owns a number of lots currently, so I'd be looking at, original talk was on the square, but we don't think that would be great for long-term or the aesthetics, so, we have space next to like the house on North Broadway, that could keep it in proximity to the school if they wanted to tap into lunch programs or whatnot. We still currently own land behind the grocery store. We, that's what we have currently in our possession. I think there's opportunity to work to get either land donated, if we can tell them exactly what it's gonna be used for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people would be receptive to donating for a daycare. I mean, I don't know. As far as causes go, I don't know what would be a better cause. Does it say in here anywhere, I haven't read it word for word, but how many people, or how many kids, if we do these two, best case scenario, how many kids do we take care of?
So each of these locations, so having 2 providers in one place, that would be up to 20 kids. And essentially each provider can take up to about 10 kids. I think if they have older kids, they could do up to 12, but generally we're talking about 10 per location.
Is these 70 to 100, are those, 40%, 18 months and younger, so a lot of them are the younger
Right.
kids.
And when you have younger ages, it's going to probably average the 6 to 8 kids in each daycare. It's when you get toddlers and older kids that you can reach that 10 to 12 mark in a daycare.
Yeah.
Because those are the KDHE guidelines for licensed daycares, to
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
they are able to take care of their children adequately.
It sounds like we need a facility the size of this annex with about 10 providers inside of it. Just a big little kid jail. Because that's a lot of kids. I mean, that's hard for me to wrap my mind around.
And I think some of it is, the goal is if we can get started, we'll continue to work to get more like locations available. The school is getting ready to have a location online. We're talking with the church here in St. John. Some of those are just longer conversations and different things because you have more people involved. But I mean, this is definitely not the end, but the beginning. And so how do you reduce the immediate need right now? Which we can do with more locations, and we know there is interest from people wanting to provide, and then also not wanting to oversaturate the demand. So not wanting to say like, put a modular in every community, because, again, based on the data, that's not necessarily supported. So I think it's do this, keep working, keep moving.
So, from your guys' research on the kids that need care, I assume they're with grandparents or stay-at-home moms right now. Like, I'm not gonna hold you to the stats, but is that the general consensus that
There's
So-
some unlicensed daycares that are operating too.
Yeah,
It's
just out of
community, yeah, out of homes.
People
necessity.
essentially babysitting other people's kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think you would be surprised at how many people are just making do with grandparents or parents staying at home. And we've noticed that it does open up the workforce.
Well, that's what I was getting at. If you get, say, 8 kids in each one, you get 16 kids into a daycare. I was trying to kind of wrap my mind around how many stay-at-home moms would rather be working, but they're staying at home because they have no other choice. Or, you know, 50 to 60-year-old grandparents that would be working a job somewhere. That's something that we fight at the county level is.
Or you got this guy that can't get teachers to come in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think every employer fights it, obviously, finding people to work, but.
And from the survey, 70% of people said that their household incomes would increase by a minimum of $30,000 a year. A number of people said it would increase closer to $50,000 or more. So, I mean, you do see whether that's increased from like part-time to full-time, or whether that's someone not working to working. That was shown in the survey.
So have you are you gonna hit up the cities too on this funding? Is the 175,000 the whole amount you need? Or is that just what you're asking us for? Or are you hoping to get some from the city, some from us, some from private individuals?
So to carry out this current project, what is proposed here, the 3 locations, it's gonna be $175,000. So it'd be great if you wanted to fund it in 100%, and then we can just move forward. If you choose not to fund it in 100%, then we will figure out the way to get us there. So that would be looking at asking the cities, doing more private donations. We've done some fundraising, but it's, I think, hard for people to want to jump on when we don't have a concrete plan.
Tangible.
So if we have a concrete plan, I think it will be easier to either get in-kind donations or to get cash donations to purchase what's needed.
St. John Spencer ARPA funding, right? In Maxville. Have you guys spent your ARPA funding?
No,
No.
So if Maxville's,
we've spent some,
Yeah.
if Maxville has their ARPA funding and they're willing to put money in, then I'm assuming that you would do the Maxville facility first? You can't expect Maxville to put in 50,000,
Oh,
and then that goes in on the 175 for the daycare and the tenants.
right. No, I guess what
Yeah.
I would see is, like, the biggest thing right now is gonna be being able to secure that building, like it's listed for sale, so it's needing to have 35,000. And then we are estimating that's gonna be about 15,000 to get it up to, you know, KDHE regulations. So if we have a way to have that 35,000 to move forward, then it'd be easier to ask the city to put money in to make it compliant.
Yeah. So this building, this 209 building in Maxville, is it really only gonna take 10 grand in renovations and modifications?
Yeah, I mean, it's very minimal what's needed on the first floor. There's also,
it's a 2-story building, and there was a living apartment up above.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's up above?
It used to
says
be.
something.
it's an apartment,
There's
and
an apartment
it's,
with a kitchen.
and it's currently
Is it a decent
livable.
building?
For Maxville, it's, yeah. I mean, he's worked on it to keep it up.
So, the coffee shop, I gather currently is operating a coffee shop across the street, and they've been able to do a lot getting in kind, like labor and support for the renovations they've done there. So I know Jake Russell serves on our committee and is the Maxville representative. He would be willing to go in and do some of the work. So I think if we can secure the building, I think it's gonna be less challenging than to get the fence up, put wall off the thing, get the additional sink in, because the community will support moving forward and making it happen. So the downstairs will require minimum work. The apartment is fine as is. There might be a need to purchase a couple appliances for them to use that. But you could also have that be the tenant's responsibility. But essentially, someone could move in and start living there, and I know there's been interest from talking with the folks in Maxville.
So there, Mr. Mayor, does the city of Maxville have any interest in spending any ARPA money or what?
We haven't spent it all, I mean, all I can say.
How much do you have? Offhand, do you
Offhand,
know?
I don't know. I mean, I think we were 84,000 is all we were, for our city, I think.
Do you guys have plans for that money or?
With the new fire station, there's some talk, because we have a new library going in August, so
Yeah.
Mhm.
we'll have to wait and see.
So Maxville has the greatest need for daycare right now. The most immediate is St. John, Maxville.
So it's tough. From the survey, you were looking at there being a need for like 5 spots in Maxville. But the challenge is Maxville currently has 0 open daycares. Like they have 0 licensed daycares. So like there are people providing care because it's desperately needed,
Yeah.
but they are not licensed through KDHE. So that's where like Maxville has a need, where if you could get a KDHE licensed daycare there, it would significantly improve things for people in the town. Because we know people who, they drive to Pratt, well, they were driving to Stafford to drop a kid off for daycare and then going to work at Pratt and then picking their kid up in Stafford and driving back. And so, I mean, it's tough because you have a lot of people who are choosing to work outside of county because that's where they can get childcare. So they have people going to Larned, going to Great Bend. Because again, having not a licensed facility, there's not always official like wait lists or ways to get approved. That the people providing care can be more selective.
Mhm.
Well, I guess we'll put it to the list.
Yeah, I think sometime soon, us three are gonna have to sit down and compile our requests and have an ARPA meeting and figure out exactly, because we've got, you know, the fair building, we're getting ready to have a housing request, your guys' request.
Got a landfill.
Landfill. So we're just trying to figure out where all this fits in.
And half the people from the state say don't plan on getting the money you're getting next year because it's not coming. And I
Yeah.
haven't said that it is.
Yeah,
So that's the difference between 400,000 or 800,000.
yeah. You know, it's challenging for me to figure out, because we're getting ready to have a housing request, and a lot of people would say, well, somebody won't move to St. John if there's not a house, but they also won't move to St. John if they don't have daycare. So it's,
Double-edged sword.
yeah, I mean, like what, you know, it's Chinese finger pulling it both ways, like I guess I don't know how you figure out.
If I were you guys, I'd recommend you guys go, one of you goes and meets with the Maxwell City Council and see if they're willing to, you know, since that building is for sale, and if you're gonna have to do something, get something done right now, that looks kinda like that'd be the one you'd wanna do. You know, if you could get a commitment from Maxwell, City of Maxwell to put forth some money, then come back to us, we might be able to look that a little harder.
With that modular classroom, sounds like it's a pretty good buy.
It would be.
Tristan, do you want to talk a
How many
little bit
square
about
foot?
what Edwards County's done with modulars? Because they've got 2 running right now.
So we are currently in the process of putting a modular in Lewis. Ours is actually coming out of like Iowa, and it costs us $65,000, but it's a very decent classroom, and it is taking longer because of concrete. We're having trouble finding concrete, but it's a pretty simple process. The City of Lewis has leased us ground for $1 a year, and then, so they own it, and then we let the provider run it as their own business. So we do all the back work of getting the building bought and getting it up to KDHE license and license it there. and we're gonna just hire a provider to come in, and we're hoping to have that done by August, and then it would provide 2 daycare facilities right there in Lewis. But it's been a really smooth process as far as working with building traders, the city, and getting things lined up to be done.
So those modulars, were there basically a 2-room deal? So you can run 2 different providers out of there?
Right, you have to have an address for each one, so it's a matter of putting A and B on each side. And then we currently have the same situation in Kinsley. The building was already there, the school owned it, and that's how we were able to get daycares up quickly, was because it was already there, and then we just made it up to KDHE approval, and then put 2 providers in there. It's minimal work. You have to have a bathroom, which these 2 do, and then a little kitchenette with cabinets, refrigerator, and a stove. So it's really simple, and I feel like it's a quick way to get daycares in your community.
So how many kids can each room handle?
Well, up to 10 to 12. Right now, our need is the younger kids too, so I would say an average of 6 to 8. We were able to get 3 daycares up and running with the modular location in Kinsley, and then another home location that someone actually just donated to the committee. And so we added 3 extra daycares to the community. We are still struggling to get to babies daycare. I just had a baby in February, and I don't have daycare for it right now. So the need is still there for those younger kids, but when you have those younger kids, it's going to take more daycares because you can't have as many kids at the daycare for that.
How did you guys finance these? I mean, how did you pay for them?
So a lot of them came from donations. The Kinsley location did not take a lot. It took us about $10,000 to get it up because it was already there. And then the school rents to our committee, and then we sublease to the provider. They didn't want to have any, they didn't have.
But like the modular,
The modular,
Yeah.
we went to the commissioners, and they gave us $67,000, and then we raised another $20,000 from just donations from people.
they gave 67 from ARPA? Okay.
But once people hear and see what's going on,
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel like people fully support it. And it's crazy what kind of donations you get in, not just money, but we got refrigerators, microwaves, the stoves, toys.
Once we have something concrete, people are gonna be able to.
And you'd be surprised with how many people have kitchen cabinets laying around that they're not using too. So, yeah, the community has really supported us as far as that goes, so.
Okay. I don't think I have any questions. Do you have any more? You got any questions?
The square footage on the modulars is what,
It's about 1,500 square feet.
each one?
No,
Or
the whole
total?
thing. Yeah, so you're looking at about like 700 a side. It's like 636 or so from the floor plan.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Right? Now you jump into housing, I'm gonna get excited here. So
I'm gonna sit back here and
yeah, I hope you guys had an opportunity to kind
We got,
Are we jumping the line here?
No, we're just behind.
we're behind. Mark, we're running a little bit behind.
I figured that.
Well, is more comfortable seating up front? We'll yell at you, or you
Okay.
sit here? There's one right there. There's a softy chair right there.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
I hope you guys had time to look at the proposal. There's a lot of neat data that I just wasn't aware of. Kathleen and Fallon and Carolyn have done a great job putting this together. This all came from Carl's office, the appraisers, so we've got some pretty good data on their housing inventory going forward, but, yeah, there's a need. We all know there is, and I think this is a unique proposal that has some teeth in it that ties into the county, even in the cities, that here's our program. This is what you need to do to get a house built in your community. And it's a proven model with the 10 homes we're building now and the wait lists we've got on those is something I never would have dreamed of.
We currently have 24 people on our wait list and half of the units are already filled. So we have 24 people waiting on 5 units.
And if you remember, those initial units are income restricted, we can't sell them, we've got to rent them, and have to rent them for X amount of dollars. We have very little say on what we do. This housing program is kind of a mimic of that one, but it has no restriction. We're in the driver's seat on it as far as the rental side. We can sell them if there's need, and like I've always said, we don't want to be a landlord, but if we have to be, we will, you know, but I think there's probably not any property we have that we wouldn't sell if somebody wanted to buy it going forward. But yeah, I mean, this is another 10-home program. There's an option in here to, if an individual sign on and get pre-approved for a mortgage on it, they can kind of be in the driver's seat with the build and maybe get up to that $250,000 range, is that roughly? Or higher, you know?
Yeah.
If they're approved for financing and they wanna take, you know, because these homes aren't exactly desirable, the ones we've built, but they're working, but if they wanna make that floor plan tailored to their need, but we are footing the cost of construction, and they're buying a turnkey house, it's a lot easier to get funding when you're not getting funding for a construction loan. You don't have a lot of those hurdles to jump through. I think that's a unique thing that could work pretty good in here. But we are, this program, what separates it from the other one is basement under it, right? Unfinished
yeah.
basement in each home.
So kind of the minimal proposal is we will look at building 10 more houses. The minimal that would happen from this funding would be that we build 10 more houses. They'd have the same floor plan as our current house, but be put on an unfinished basement, so that would take care of the concern about lack of storage or storm shelter. Plus then, if someone chose to purchase the home, they'd have the option to finish out the basement as they desired. That would be closer to like the $160,000 price point for building, which based on kind of the affordability in our area, could meet a lot of kind of demands or interests. And then like Alex was saying, so the minimum is 10 houses and they'll be at least $160,000 houses. But if there's people interested in wanting other types of housing, so like $275,000 house or something like that, then we could work with that, but they'd have to be pre-approved, sign a development agreement. And there's the city where they want it located would have to be a participating city in the overall project. We will be going to ask the cities for funding. So that means that some of the houses will be $160,000, but some might be more based on lining up kind of a buyer.
So if a person wanted to build a house and it was up there in that 250 or 260 range, they could increase the footprint, or do they have to go by the same?
It would not have to be the same footprint as our current house. They'd be looking at doing, you know, a floor plan.
They could add on a garage or add on
So essentially, what do you, maybe this is a good way to look at it, what do you gain from building a house with us rather than doing it on your own? And I would say there's a couple things that you would gain as far as, you're not gonna have to get a construction loan, you're gonna get a mortgage for the home.
Yeah, which is extremely hard to get
And that's a big
construction
deal.
loan.
The second thing, correct me quickly if I'm wrong, but we're working with cities to donate lots, so land would be free, and then we're hoping cities will contribute utility hookups, correct? So that would be why you would work with us. We're gonna get you utility hookup, land, and mortgage instead of construction loan. Those are the three big things.
So we would be the one to having to deal with the contractor. I think we currently have our current housing plan. We'll talk with our current contractor to see what other types of plans are available. I think it would also be looking at previously, when there was the down payment assistance program, there was some floor plans. I don't know that it would have to be that you'd have to go with a set contractor, you know, that we kind of have lined up. I think it helps to have that for people because it gets overwhelming, knowing where to start. But if someone else found a contractor they wanted to bring in to build a house to their specs, that could be worked out.
Now that being said, with the need what it is, you're gonna see us gravitate towards the path of least resistance too. You guys know what it takes to build a house. It's a lot of, well, we like this, we don't like that. It's gonna be harder for us to, and take longer to build homes that people want built to their spec. Does that kind of understand? So I think that we would probably favor building the other if there's a need for it, but we're definitely gonna work with anybody who wants to.
Well, right now, it sounds like you have the need.
Oh, man, I can't even believe this. I was
23,
really,
wait list of 23.
yeah, I'll be just completely candid with you. I was worried we weren't gonna fill these homes, but it was our only opportunity to build homes at the time, and I'm extremely pleased.
I'm
with how
wondering
this
at how
worked
many
out.
of those $65,000 modulars you can get here, because
I don't know if we want a trailer parking in our
you
tent.
can make a spot for it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
23 people, and those
yeah.
are
So I don't know that the cost of converting one of the modular classrooms to a house would be much different
Yeah, I
than
mean-
our current $130,000
Yeah.
house.
So I haven't had time to read through this, so like you're talking, 10,000 foot square house, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, that's basically what you're building now. Then you're gonna basically double the size of that by putting an unfinished basement under it.
So the top floor will expand some because we'll push out the wall about 3 feet to have that staircase.
and that's
So
gonna add a little bit of square footage to 1 bedroom, just
Well,
by doing that.
two
correct?
bedrooms,
bedrooms,
yeah.
Okay. So then you're wanting the county to
We would-
give,
We would like to see $350,000, like a pledge for over the next 3 years. So some of that being ARPA funds, some of that maybe being other funding. But that's what we're going to need to then be able to get some commitments from the cities lined up to then go for a $600,000 grant for moderate income housing to the Kansas Housing Resource Corp. So we really need to have local match secured to be able to carry out this program.
And I think we'll be extremely competitive for that grant if we can provide matching funds. So you can think of it as taking your ARPA funds or whatever funds that we put towards us and basically doubling them, is essentially what we.
Well, it would have a big return on investment. So minimally, we're talking about 1.6 million in new housing. And so the county would buy into that at $500. So,
yeah, 350,000.
so this is about a 40%, the grant will pay for about 40% of the houses.
that would be the hope. That's the plan. So we've had a lot of interest statewide. People have seen our current 10-house program, want to see its replicability. I think this would kind of further prove the concept by having the houses and being able to sell the houses. And essentially with being able to sell the houses, we're not going to be coming back asking for money because we'll be able to kind of regenerate. So every time we're able to sell a house, that leads to more housing development. So again, we will keep some rentals if necessary, but this goal is really going to be to just add to our housing stock. I mean, our housing stock has decreased by 225 plus houses in the past 20 years. We lose about 13 a year and only about 2 a year are built. So, I mean, if we don't have enough housing to meet our current job demands, let alone further development.
Yeah, when you have time, just kind of read through. This all came from Carl's office, and it just really shocked me. The data, the housing in stock that we have, and, I knew there was an
You need to
issue.
do that in color next time.
Oh, it is, the original, and I can give you,
If you would email this to me,
Yeah,
so I emailed it.
what do they call it,
to
show
you.
shades of gray?
So yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, yeah.
So those have the color version, so it's
sounds like
originally in
the
color.
colorblind.
Yeah. That don't make sense to me.
Yeah,
On the back page, we did put in some alternate levels of funding, but I think the costs, I mean, you can do the calculations yourself, but what Carolyn and Kathleen have put together, definitely feel like leveraging those funds is really a good bang for the buck. And we have a couple other options that I think are very less desirable, what we can do with this funding, but.
yeah, basically, you need some funding to make yourself competitive for the grants. Without the funding, they won't do
then we
the
won't be
grants.
able to get grants.
You can't hardly ever get a grant if you don't have match funding available.
Any skin in
Once
the
you
game.
do, I mean, we saw that with the grocery store. Once we had, Fisher lot donated and the Carl Dudry, estate donation stuff, man, the application for the grant just basically, I don't want to put it that easy, but it floated through. Carolyn had a lot to do to get it
It
done.
makes it
But-
easier, even with our previous applications, we've been able to leverage like the K-State House as part of the package or the land donations. But at this point, to go after the moderate income, which that program normally has a $2 million budget, and this year, because of the influx in federal funding, we'll have a $20 million And so this would be really the opportune time to go after the funding, because it's not gonna be at this level again.
Yeah, that's our issue going forward, is it's now or never on this, and I really think that this housing program, you talk about putting 20 houses under our umbrella, what that's gonna do for our organization to be able to further economic development going forward. And whether we convert those houses to ownership within the county, which is what we'd like to do, I mean, we'll just keep rolling that cash forward into other programs. And maybe this also helps us address some childcare issues as well. You know, when we have some unrestricted funding coming into the business, because right now, the challenge as a board member on economic development is we've got a little piece of funding from the county, we've got grant sources coming in, and everything has its bucket. You know, this is how much money you've got for this. We have very little unrestricted funding. And our rental income really is that piece. It's the unrestricted funding that we can really carry out projects with.
13% of the houses in Stafford County built within the last 50 years. Average age is 87 years old.
I'd like to know what that housing development was in the 30s, was it? There was 300 some houses?
Oh, so the 1910s had the biggest boom with 371 houses, and it held steady through, basically from till about the 1950s. So in the 60s, housing started tapering off, the 80s really plummeting, the 90s were the worst, with only 24 houses built in the whole decade.
You drive down like Broadway on the north end of town, I mean, there's a lot of houses where they're all exactly the same.
Yeah.
I think that was after the war era when everybody came back. So do you guys have, I saw your house that you guys did in Hudson and went in when they were doing the sheetrock, and I thought it looked pretty neat. Are all the houses you're building right now, or are they all the same plan, or are you guys mixing them up any? You have one plan and that's it?
Yeah.
So in 20 years, when people come by, they're gonna go, that was lovely.
Well, I'll tell you, so that was determined by the grant. There
you
again,
didn't
we're
have
going
leeway
back to
on that, yeah.
unrestricted funding. The other side of that is, it's interesting you bring that up in 20 years. I live in a house in Maxville, there's 4 other identical in town. And you wouldn't know it until I didn't even know it until I lived there a year and someone said, well, don't you notice that looks just like that one? And I drove by and I'm like, well, those are identical.
Your parents' house is the same way.
Yeah,
Isn't there?
Andrew and Mom's are basically, yeah.
And there's another one in another part of the county, I think somewhere. Those were
Very
Sears
interesting.
houses or something?
Well, my parents wasn't a Sears, but there was 2 or 3 built by the same guy,
Oh, okay.
basically.
You find a lot of those up in Great Bend.
The Sears home. Seth's was a Sears home.
Oh, okay, that's what it was, yeah.
Yep.
Even though in the urban areas, you see it's cookie cutter, the new developments, you have like maybe 1 to 4 floor plans. If you go into your neighbor's house, you know where to find a bathroom. Like, I mean, you do, like, like you come to have less choices or customization.
That's what I like this
normally.
proposal better, because I'm not a fan of the vertical siding. Everyone says it's a shed house, and me in construction background, it's not a shed house. It's a stick frame building with vertical siding on it. It's not a shed home. You could turn that siding on its side and do conventional, metal or vinyl siding, and it would look more like a home. If you want to buy into this program, you can choose what siding goes on. But that is the cheapest option for siding.
Yeah, I think a lot of people from the community didn't realize the restrictions placed upon us for the houses that you guys have built. And I just think.
Well, and a lot of people in the community, just from talking to those people, think they can afford more house than they can, too. It's been a
lot of people have more house than they need.
Yeah.
So let me get this right. So you guys kind of have the design you want to do on the full basement. Somebody comes up and says, if you guys will build that, I'll buy it. And so if you guys would have a contract with them, and then you would allow them to make a few changes during the construction, and then at the end of construction, they would buy it from you.
And then we'd roll that funding into another housing project.
And you could basically guarantee them some kind of a mortgage, or would it be each?
They would have to
they would get a mortgage, but as a lender, you would be able to say, well, Todd, I'll loan you the money for this house because EcoDevo's taking on the risk of the construction loan. It's not Todd getting a construction loan and
Banks are
them
hesitant
doing
to put their trust
distributions
in
to the contractor and
individuals.
then not knowing if it's gonna get done. Because if it doesn't get done, it's on them.
Yeah.
You're just pre-approved for the mortgage, which is, that's a big step.
Very few banks will put their faith in you and say, I trust you to get a house built.
Yeah, or trust your contractor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because if it's half built, it's about 25 cents on the dollar.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so what would most likely happen is we will, once we kind of have things secured in terms of knowing we have the funding to move forward, we would put it out for people interested in wanting to build, letting them know what our design is, others. But we would still probably start building some of the other houses on basements, needing to have some construction. Part of it is if we get the funding, we need to keep our current contractor busy to be able to carry it
Yeah.
out at the price point.
And I
So-
would make that comment too, our contractor likes working here, I was worried about that, he's probably ready to get back to Hutch, you know, but he keeps asking, are you gonna get more, can we do more? He likes knowing what's ahead, I think is the biggest deal, and knowing that he's staying busy. I would say that's a internal discussion we're gonna have, because he is all we've got. There are no other contractors willing to build a home at this cost, so there is a risk there, you know,
Yeah.
but it can be managed
But-
in some ways.
And we already have things fairly costed out in terms of things, so if people wanna change out siding, we would know what that is on like the current design, but again, people don't have to be locked into the current design. And it doesn't, and we could look at additional contractors or there's a lot of options, like if you start looking at like the Shocker homes with more of the modular, like people wanna bring something in to get placed, like, I think there's variability that would allow for it.
What I've kind of found is, and I'm kind of working on it separate from Eco on a couple things, but talking to one contractor, they try to get away from 2,000 square foot and less homes. And so he actually did bid on this deal and it was stupid high. Well, he didn't want to build it. That's where he sees his break even is he's got to build a home bigger than 2,000 square feet to make it worth his time. And so I think that's a challenge on these homes. But now that you have a basement, we're getting back into where he may be interested in a project like this again, so. Cause he's basically $175 a square foot is the cheapest home he'll build, and he'll sign a contract today saying, I'll get it done for $175 a square foot. But it's gotta be 2,000 square foot or higher. He's not gonna build this one for $175, it's gonna be more expensive. It's interesting, the metrics on all that, but everyone's gotta make money, you know? And just like they were talking about concrete, I believe it, man, Mansell's 8 months out, it's crazy, the amount of stuff going on right now, and the lack of laborers we have in the trades is the big issue.
And back to that, they're wanting, she said they're gonna pour a slab and put that modular, what was she talking about, concrete?
Footing, so you need, so instead of, I mean, you can put modular like classrooms on cinder blocks, but that doesn't give you longevity. So instead, they have you do like a 4x4 that goes down past your freeze line, and that's what gives it kind of the longevity. There's specs on that, but it's not a full pad per se. You could, or you could do what they call a stem wall, but that's more expensive.
Okay.
Basically putting, you know, I have no idea, but I'm guessing some concrete piers and then they'll put some structure under it.
Yes,
Do like a
I was
skirt.
wondering, cause I've seen it done that way, but not pouring a whole pad,
Yeah.
you know?
So how would you do, where would you decide where you're gonna build these houses at?
So it'll be twofold, so one will be, cities need to buy into our program, so we kind of worked up numbers where they would kind of participate based on population size. And so the city would have to be participating, which would then put pressure on them, especially if like local people wanted to have their house built in the town. And then the second would be based on where you have people who are lined up to be buyers, want the houses placed. We've worked in the past, it's been easy enough to get lots. So Hudson was community members, Stafford and St. John got them from the city/land banks. Maxville's a private donation. So there's a lot of infill lots.
One reason I like this program is you hear on all these city council forums, if you listen to them, that all these city councilors running for office is, I'm gonna fix the housing problem, you know, and then nothing happens, you know. We're giving them an opportunity. We've done all the legwork here. All you've gotta do is give us a little bit of funding to maybe get a lot or get some utility
Pick up some
hookups, which a lot of
utilities.
cities can do on their own with their equipment. And then
You guys
you've got
struggled
a
with
house.
that with your current housing project, correct?
We had a couple cities who were ready to jump on and one that wasn't. In the end, we decided if they're not all gonna do it, we're not gonna
Wasn't gonna
make,
be
yeah,
fair.
it's not gonna be fair.
No,
for
we
us.
had to carry out
But
the process
this
as specified.
This makes it fair, because if you don't do it, you don't get a house. We'll go build it wherever, which city is gonna participate. So they could all end up in Stafford if Stafford's the only place that participates, essentially.
So are you gonna put that to the cities to where it's gonna be this much per house? So if you can afford 3 houses or 1 house or 6 houses,
So I think our goal was to look at letting them spread out the cost over like a 5-year period. It would be having a development agreement signed, similar to like the grocery store, where for the next 5 years, they contribute X amount. So like, I'm forgetting the exact number. St. John in total over 5 years would probably give like 124,000. Stafford would be lower, like at
Over a 5-year period?
Yeah. And then Maxville, again, is lower, and Hudson would be like 2,000 a year.
but is that gonna be to where whoever donates the most money gets, cause I mean, if,
So we wouldn't do, so initially, we would probably split it up like we did this one per capita. Your town is eligible for X amount of homes, correct?
Well, so it's gonna be kind of weighing, if there's the buyers lined up, that's where it initially goes. Cause if we end up running out of buyers at some point, then we'll still be building houses, to have for rentals. So it would be a guarantee that each place would at least get 1 house. They're putting in less than the cost of 1 house for their community, but most likely they're gonna end up with more in their communities. It's gonna depend though somewhat on the other players.
yeah. I think you'll have a lot of interest in it. I was just worried about, all 3 cities, donate the
Competing
money.
against each other.
And then you've got
Mhm.
10 people in St. John that says, yeah, we wanna do the buy deal, and let's get that going right now, then you get 10 houses in St. John.
But all of those are sold, which means we have that much more money to build more housing. So it might, so I think the biggest thing you'll run into is kind of delays into what happens first where, and being able to have the contractors keep up with the work. But it's not in the long term going to not allow for housing in those places. Because especially with the sales, that's funding that will go directly back into housing, because that's where the need is. So if you sell a house, another house is immediately gonna be added to the list of houses to build.
So that's our proposal. I know you guys have got to sit down and figure
Yeah.
out where all this money is going.
One thing that we're really scared of is everyone says we have 800,000.
Sure.
Well, we don't wanna spend what we don't have. And when do we get ARPA distribution?
Maybe March or June, I think. It'll be a year from the last distribution.
And we'll find out on that, but I guess what I'm getting at is we don't wanna spend money that we don't have.
Right.
And so,
Well, we wanted to get this plan in front of you. We're still in the middle of our current housing project, so maybe we have a little bit of time, but on the other side, we've got to get grants prepared and that grant deadline.
When do you need an answer, Bud?
Moderate income housing will open this summer. I don't have
Is
a
that what
firm
this
date.
is considered?
Well, yeah, the moderate income
The
housing.
matching grant that we would go after to make this happen. Yeah.
Most of the complaints that I've had about the houses, everybody says they're too small and nobody can meet the criteria to get in there. But I've had several people tell me, I wish they'd build a house twice that big that didn't have any kind. So this deal, Matt,
This would allow it,
this
but,
is exactly what they're talking about.
but not having the hard data to show the affordability, we just don't wanna start building the higher price point houses yet. So that's
And
part
that's
of
in
the
this,
partnership.
that's
I think-
actually this here, we broke out, just really grasping at straws, but Carolyn did a good job putting this together, and Kathleen. Kind of shows the income levels for the county and what kind of house, at a 5,000 foot level, we think they can afford to own. And there just isn't as big a need for that $300,000 house because there's
no,
not
but I
as
think you'd
much-
have a plethora of people going and getting mortgages for 225 to 275.
That's a pretty good range, I would agree.
I think there's a lot of people that jump on 175.
Well, yeah,
I-
but I think the 225 to 275, where you have some flexibility on, okay, I'll add a garage, I'll add, another bedroom, or a half bath, something like that. I think, and then not having to have a construction loan, that's a cool part about this program, because you're gonna have a bunch of people take advantage of that, I guarantee it. I mean, if you have 23 on the wait list for the littler houses
I
without a
was
basement,
banging my head against the wall with our previous housing program we had where we had the down payment assistance. I said, why aren't people taking advantage of this? I personally believe the biggest part of it was, yeah, here's 25,000 free, but they couldn't get the financing to build the construction side of the house.
Yeah.
You get a mortgage, you can't get a construction loan.
absolutely.
That's the biggest fault.
What cities would Hudson, it'd be Stafford, St. John, Maxwell, and Hudson? Yeah. You guys aren't gonna build anything in radium?
If there's a need,
They're
we
gonna
can
remodel-
consider it.
They're gonna remodel the old school.
Yeah,
I mean, I think, given the population difference between Radium and
I was
Seward,
just teasing.
you can't have it, but if someone wanted to build within city limits in one of those communities, I don't think we'd be opposed to it. But the biggest thing is, with all the housing is having,
Buy-in on it, you know.
well,
Yeah.
what, like $20 a
Well,
year? I don't know, like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think there'd be flexibility.
Let's consider that when it arises, you know,
Right.
we can figure
Cross that
something
bridge a little bit.
out.
So this example here was based on a 2,000 square foot home. The one with the 3-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
So for
Is
the,
that
I'm sorry, I'm looking at, so, right, it would end up being that with the unfinished basement, but you'd still have
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
1,000 square foot finished on the top level. I mean, it'd be over that, but,
1,000 square foot, is about there.
I mean, 1,100, it's not, but I mean, within the current homes, you have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I mean, it's a very open concept.
They are small, I agree, but this is where we've landed
Yeah.
on what we
No.
can get done, yeah, so.
Okay.
And that's kind of what goes back to the struggle to get contractors too, is that they are on the smaller side of the home, and a lot of the contractors, why would I pick up this work when I can go build a bigger one somewhere else? You know, they're not hurt.
Can you email me this?
Yes, I don't think I have an email though.
I can get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thanks for your
All right.
time, sorry
Thank
we
you.
got you behind this morning.
No, you're fine.
It's all right.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
See ya.
You got your first ARPA funding June 1st of last year, so if.
And that was 400?
So you should get your second half
Next month. Maybe.
theoretically.
So to me, we need to wait and before, because it does these people no good
Because
if you partially fund, you see what I'm saying? If we figure it out like next week, we just say, all right, we're gonna fund this and this and this, and then you get another 400.
well, I would wait till you make sure you get that last half.
Yeah,
And you remember, you've already spent some of it
yeah.
on the septics, so. You know.
Yep.
I would wait till you've got the full amount in and then sit down and prioritize. If you think childcare is the most important, if you think it's housing, if you think it's
And,
I wonder
whatever.
what's ever happening with the fair building.
I don't know if they, I haven't talked to them whether they got the city to apply for that grant.
USDA, there's a grant. What they didn't grant would have been low interest, very low interest. I don't think they did anything. Doesn't surprise me a bit. Hi, Mark.
Housing and childcare, real Kansas issues, isn't it? We got that in Garden City, Finney County too. In Beverly County, I won't go into right now, I'm hearing.
Seems like it's a buzzword right now.
Yes, it is. And you can get some workers possibly, but you gotta have some place to let them live. Well, good morning, I'm Mark Hine, President and CEO of Southwest Developmental Services, Inc. And, do you have packets?
Yes. Yep.
Should have something like this.
Yep.
I always bring extra, just in case. Well, I'll go through this packet, present it to you, and if you have any questions as I go through it, just please stop and ask me. I'll do my best to answer you. SDSI is the Community Developmental Disability Organization, 18 counties, we have 13 in the southwest corner of Kansas and 5 here in central Kansas. Right now, we have, when we put this together, we have 1,042 individuals in our system. We use county mill and state aid in what we call a local finance plan. You can see the dollar amounts there that we got from the counties for 2021, and then the state aid we got too, and we use that entire state aid. And then down below there, you see what we budget, what we get for CDO administration, and then we use some county mill to supplement our budget. Page 2 is just a statute. Finney County had asked us several years ago, any statutes that apply to the organization and the county, just to, they wanted us to include it, so we've continued to do that. Page 3 is the request, and from Stafford County there. The CDO administration, we've asked that from every county, we're looking at that. All of this may change because the $285,000, because in the governor's budget, they passed an increase in CDO admin, and we've never had that happen before, but we got $2.5 million more across the state of Kansas, so that'll be distributed out amongst 27 CDDOs. And exactly what we're gonna get or how they're gonna do that, I don't know yet. We should find out shortly. We have had a meeting to talk about it, so hopefully we'll find out here shortly. The request for population really is a request that we've used that money to pay providers for things, and you'll see it here in just a moment, a couple pages. Transportation, because transportation is not an item that the home and community-based service waiver pays for. So, hey, with the cost of fuel, the cost of maintaining and buying vehicles, we figure this helps them out, and it does. So you can see the request for Stafford County, there's $35,832 for the year. The two far right-hand columns there, the request we did in 2022, and then what we received from each county in contract in 2022. Page 4 has the 18 counties we serve, the individuals that are living, and number of individuals living in that county or originating from that county. This is from the state's database. The one thing that happens over time, when somebody moves from a county and it moves into, we'll say they go into Barton County because they're going to get day and residential services, well, they end up losing their identity out here as originating from this county. And that's the way it works in that database. So, excuse me, the number you have out there right now, it's not going to include any of those individuals because they moved and they're now living in Barton County. And primarily, when you look at day and residential services, the primary providers are in Great Bend, Garden City, and Liberal. But there are services provided in the outlying counties as well, in-home supports, targeted case management. Page 5 just shows you the local finance plan, how we use that money in 2021, how it's budgeted for this year, 2022. And again, you can see the transportation subsidy is by far the biggest dollar amount that we pay out to our providers. And that's based upon the number of individuals that they serve. So we get billed from each one of our providers that provides day and residential services on a monthly basis. If someone moves from one provider to another, then of course that money follows with them and we get that billing from that service provider. Page 6 there is the direct care and or case management providers we have. The city, in which really their main office is located. That does not mean they just provide services out there, such as in Great Bend. They'll be out in the outlying counties as well doing things. Page 7, I provided this probably since we've been over here in 2004, if not shortly after that. The first paragraph there is really, the only thing that's changed is the number of individuals, and again, when we put this together, we had 1,042 individuals, 582 received day or in-home supports in residential, and 478 received case management only. The other bullet points, unless you want me to, I'm going to skip through them because you all can read, I know that. And I'm not trying to shortchange you here. But Page 8 is we haven't had housing in Garden City, but we built back in the mid-'80s to mid-'90s. And this is, we've got 122 total units between group homes, apartment settings that individuals live in. We have 3 different corporations, as I said. Sometimes as a landlord, you'd like to give those up because of the wear and tear and just things that happen. But without them, and they're exclusively for individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities. So without them, you know what housing is like here? Well, it's the same thing in Garden. The demand is there and the supply is not. So without this, I would be and they just wouldn't have a place. Page 9 is the organizational chart. Board of directors, myself included, there's 9 staff, 7 in the Garden City office, 2 in Great Bend. Page 10 there at the very top of the page, you can see back from 2011 through 2021, the folks who have applied for services, because we're the entity that they have to come through for eligibility determination, the number have been determined eligible, ineligible, and so on. Then the latter part of that page there, you can see the wait list. As of February 22nd, 2022, there were 4,485 individuals. We had 320 of those in our area. The oldest one that we had went back to 2012, so there's about a 10-year wait list. And page 11 just shows where we got that information from. There was the state of Kansas, their website as of February 22nd, 2022. Down there towards the bottom, the IDD, 9,044 individuals receive services, 4,485 are on the wait list.
And you need a board member.
Yes, we do. And then there's a map of the CDDOs in the state of Kansas, and yeah, Jerry Maddox went off, gosh, it's been 3 or 4 years ago probably.
At least.
And we haven't had one since. And the thing we just to let you know, if you have anybody that might be interested, we meet 4 times a year. We meet in Garden City, but we have Zoom capability, and since we did that back in 2020, July of 2020, I believe every single meeting we've had, maybe except one, we've always had 1 or 2 board members that have attended by Zoom, and that's fine. I mean, it works out well. We got in 2020, things happened, and we had to, rather than go out, which is what we did when we did quality assurance reviews, when we did the annual functional assessments, we didn't want to take a virus out to the individuals because a lot of them might be immune compromised. So we got on Zoom immediately towards the end of March, and in our conference room there, we've added, we have a big screen up front, we have a couple screens on the side because it's kind of a rectangular shape, kind of longer, and if you're sitting 20, 25 feet back, maybe it's because I'm getting older, but you can't see if you got a document there, so we added a couple of TVs, about like that, on the sides there, so you really can, if you're sitting anywhere in the room, you ought to be able to see what we're doing. So anyway, yeah, I need a board member. In 2020, my plans were to get around to some of the counties that I had vacancies in, talk to, hey, if they have a chamber of commerce, if they had civic organizations, just somebody that can, there's no fundraising, an hour and a half, maybe an hour to 2 hours at a meeting, and
How often did you say you meet?
4 times a year. Yep.
4 times.
March, June,
So probably what we need to do is find somebody that's recently retired.
That's
Doesn't
exactly
have
what I
a
was
lot
getting
to
ready
do.
to
the other thing we'll do, if they drive and they don't feel comfortable driving back at night, because we do have some folks
on her phone.
that are retired and don't feel comfortable driving at night, or some that aren't retired, don't feel, we'll put them up in the room.
But she likes to Zoom.
We're talking about you, Nina.
What?
About the vacant board member.
No, I'm busy. No thanks.
So yeah, if you know of somebody, please have them contact me or give me the information, and I'll contact them and let them know what we do. We also have a foundation that we have 5 community members that serve on that, and 2 SDSI board members, so we rotate that. And if they don't have it, that means at 4 o'clock on the same day. So there's not driving back and forth for a foundation and an SDSI meeting. You can meet at 4 o'clock for the foundation, and we have approximately $2.5, $2.6 million investments, and the return we receive on those investments, we will use that to help folks, what we call emergency requests, emergency funding requests. They might need dental work, they might, and Medicaid waiver will pay to have teeth pulled out of your head, but it won't pay to put anything in there. So sometimes we've got $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of dental for one individual, depending on that. And we'll review that. We try to be the payer of last resort. If there's insurance, if there's somebody else that'll pay, they'll do it. But if not, and that's usually the case with our folks, we do that. We also pay for a number of other things. We pay for iPads. We pay for software and iPads for individuals, children, for instance, who don't communicate verbally and they need this. And we've done a number of things. We also partner with Sunflower Diversified. They have a foundation, so does Rosewood Services, named foundation. And sometimes we'll pay half and half, which helps our money go further. So. Anyway, any questions that you have of me? Well, thank you so much. We do appreciate the support. The housing goes well. You get people in here because they're the same thing. What do we do? Childcare's hard to find, and the housing price, I go to buy a house for half of what it costs in Garden City for the same house almost.
Really?
Yeah, it's incredible. My sister-in-law, they sold their house in Derby last year. That house would have brought probably twice as much in Garden City as it did in Derby.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there any new housing developments going in Garden City right now?
You know, they got some apartments going in up on the north side. I live just outside of, hey, from Walmart, you go out on Farmland Road there, Murray Street, past the K-State extension. Maybe it's a mile to the city limit, maybe. There's also what they call Chapel Heights. It's going in there, a development, but it's not going
It's
in
big
fast.
houses. Yeah, and it's big houses, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think so. I
Really?
think what you were talking about here, maybe the 2,000, maybe a little bit bigger. I think they all have basements. I think you're looking at housing maybe, and it depends on the individual, you know, what they're,
Yeah.
and what they are able and willing to pay for, so. It's tough though. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Hey, Phil.
Did you get the copy of
Is that an unconscious gesture?
No.
Tell Lisa to spend the money and do it.
Hey, before I forget,
It's hard to read those pie charts.
the artesian well,
I'll pass them
up
out.
there on 140. Didn't we put a casing in that several years ago? Like 10 years ago?
Oh, good Lord, I don't know.
I don't know.
Was it a 4-inch casing?
We had, I have no idea. I really do not. It's been a long time ago. Actually, farther than we think.
There you go. Go to accounts.
What did you ask? I was talking
You know, they were talking about the dry hydrant up, and they were talking about the artesian well, and it was plugged.
History, look at Clark.
And I said that we had drilled, the county had put in the case well.
See, I think you're talking about two different deals. I think the county, on the old artesian well that just dribbles out the water, they maybe put a new casing down there. Those dry hydrants basically just go down and then the pipe goes out into a standing body of water, so they don't have I don't think.
That's what the
Who would have put that in, Philip?
Huh?
Who would have put that in?
Who did it?
Would have been Clark's?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't even find it.
So what he was saying that it was plugged because the screen was gone and maybe somebody dropped.
Yeah.
That's not the one by the bridge.
I think there's a dry hydrant just past
Actual artesian well.
just past the actual artesian
Yes,
well.
there's one just to the east of it.
And what he was talking about is when you pull those caps off to hook your hose up, there's a screen in there. Well, somebody has sat there and knocked that screen out,
Oh, okay.
and then shoved it full of beer bottles and cans, so if you put a fire truck on there and suck, it's gonna suck it all up into the
Tank.
Okay,
I misunderstood, because I thought they were talking about the artesian well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not so sure it would be sucked it in out there where it sucks either.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Because where
normally,
does it suck? It sucks from the south
Yes.
in that water?
this time of year, like we'll go out there and they hook them up
Look at more.
and they rub them up and they blow them all out,
See what-
you know, for your training, for your fire meters.
You blow them that way?
Yeah, you take water out there with you and then you blow them out.
Okay.
Blow them out to try to blow
I
the
can't
silt and everything
remember
else.
any of those dry hydrants we put in, because there's one right out here on 150.
Yeah,
But I don't know. if
I don't
it's
know
ever
how
been
much
used.
I don't know how much they use them.
Yeah.
They're a pain to try to get them to suck.
We did some water well work with Kelly's water well.
Yeah, it was
I wonder if
Kelly's.
That's it.
Cause you've not gotta get
It was when Kelly's on the south side.
centrifugal motion.
No, Rosencrantz.
They've actually got,
Would it
they've
been
actually got a
artesian?
deal that
I think it was Rosencrantz.
you've got a cap that you pull down over the exhaust
Because they went in there and did
and
some
it starts
stuff.
pulling a
because they
venturi,
had to-
you
It
know,
was
to
leaking
actually pull
around the
back
casing.
I
into the
remember something
exhaust.
was going on.
So
And then once you
Yeah.
start blowing water out the exhaust, then you
They
release
took a
it.
bunch of
and
midnight
the
pumps
pumps
put
pump
down
out.
in there, try to seal it
Because those
off.
pumps, I don't know
Yeah.
what the deal is, those
That was
pumps
in
they got.
07.
Yeah, the first one.
You know,
2007.
when we had the big
I thought it
fire
was-
outside, we hooked
The
up the
first
water
year
truck
of
to
the-
Doyle
yeah.
Sand Pit.
First year I took over.
Saltwater truck and it wouldn't pump.
Really?
7.
It just 7 feet.
Because that was that guy from
Yeah.
Great Bend.
You know, it just wouldn't
Later on.
climb up enough.
Went off to the Otter
That's
Flight.
But it'd blow
and all that.
water,
He was a
you know, out there.
retired military guy, with
30
his
feet.
goal
Yeah.
was to get these dry hydrants
But
put
it wouldn't
in.
suck right up from the.
Well, John Drew was part of
That's
it
something.
Yeah, that was
because,
a long time ago.
actually, when we put the dry hydrants in, Everett was in charge of this. Me and John Drew weren't seeing eye to eye
Sorry,
on a couple of them.
sorry to detract.
I think with all the tankers we've got anymore, I mean, the dry hydrants are kind of a.
Well, if they
Past
never
that.
sucked them, I'm guaranteed, and you know that they're probably silted in.
But like I said, this time of year, I mean, you go blow them out and suck them back through.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we did up, everything that's in our area. Then we have a few, well, that one individual that put in that high volume pump and allows us to fill out of there. And then I think, oh, I can't think of his name. He's still, K-19. He's got a big pump too.
Talking to him about an infield Ford, and met him at the conference, I don't know.
Yeah, we did,
Okay.
or I did,
So-
yeah, he was working.
I talked to
around.
him a little bit.
So, actually, they buy trucks and they put it together.
Yeah,
And it's off the Sourcewell contract, same thing we have used to buy, the deal from Burkamp, our patcher. And then I think basically Sourcewell was also onto the state contract off the truck we bought off of it, so.
yeah, he said he was working up a proposal.
Yeah, he did. And he has one left. Well, it probably is, I mean, they're having to order trucks and, yeah, but anyway,
And that's not a spreader, that's just a truck. No spreader.
that's just the truck,
Yeah, spreader.
the 120, you go to the back page.
Wasn't our last truck we bought with the spreader, and did we get a plow on it?
Yes,
It was like 186 or something.
yes,
And it was in a stainless steel bed,
yes.
Mhm.
whereas this one is not.
I don't believe it's.
This is Army grade steel.
Yeah, this is not a stainless steel bed, but the V-box is supposed to be,
Yeah.
V-box, because I had him put the option in there for the V-box.
And it does have the hydraulics and hookup for the snowplow?
Yes, and I told him, just in case, I would like to just to go ahead and bring it up, where if one truck's down, we can take up the spreader and put it in there.
Yep.
So it would, whether we buy the spreader or not, I mean, he put the option in there, and I told him that's what I wanted, was the option to buy the spreader. If we don't want it, we can take it out.
I didn't get past the first page. The
Okay.
spreader on the second page.
And it's on the last, you go to the last page and everything's,
Takes your breath away.
yeah, it will.
Holy.
Yeah.
No.
I was looking at.
Looking
some
at that
trucks.
front page, I didn't think that looked that bad.
That's just for the truck. That's
I would-
for the chassis, county chassis.
I almost called you
Go
on
box.
these. I almost called you on these. They sold some trucks last week, down in Oklahoma. They were 16 max with, dump trucks.
Mhm.
There was 3 of them, they brought 66,000 a piece. And I mean, I don't know, they might have been okay, but, 119,000 miles showing, which probably rolled over knowing them, but
Well, you never.
that's,
I mean, I have no idea what to do, I just wanted to get this done and out of the way, whether we do this or don't. I mean, we're putting 3 dashes in the Sterlings we got now, and it's $3,000 to put a dash in and things. But it still doesn't negate the fact.
I think
They've
it
all
was,
got over 600,000 miles.
yeah, I'm just
on them.
wondering if we gotta have one this year, if we can wait a little bit, because I mean, right now, it's all-time highest time and hardest time to get stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what's right, and I don't know what's wrong, I'm just,
That's what I was thinking, if we could, and I don't know about Mac or what would be the best, but if you could just pick one up for 60 grand and run it a little while, it might get you through if we really needed one, but I don't know.
Well, I know.
Whether you're throwing good money after bad.
The last truck that we bought, a used truck is at International, and we've had multitude of problems with it.
Yeah.
And so like I said, and if I'm trying to find something used with however many miles on it right now, it's next to impossible.
How many miles on this one?
That's a brand new truck.
Oh, it's brand new.
That's a brand new truck.
So if we could buy one for 70,000, or if we could buy one for 85,000, that would basically still give us $150,000 we could put in, on repairs. I mean, that's just too much for a truck. I mean, you're spending for a truck with a lot more than what graders used to cost.
Oh, yeah, you don't wanna know what the price of a grader is.
Yeah. But I mean, you've seen this deal before, where everything gets high.
Yeah,
And everybody says it ain't never gonna come down. Well, it always does come down.
That's a 27%, that's a 27%.
It won't come as cheap as what it was, but it
last
ain't.
year's truck. That's 27% increase from last year's truck, and it
Oh,
isn't.
that's probably
and it's-
about normal though, I mean, for what.
Well, yeah, but
runs.
that's not a stainless
No,
bed either, so, I mean, the difference between stainless and steel bed, is it a $10,000 upgrade, or?
yeah, I don't know because the price of metal is so whacked out.
I wonder if they can't even make stainless beds.
I don't know.
I don't know, I just thought that those trucks, and I didn't go look at them or anything, but I thought those 16 Max, there was an oil field company that was retiring, selling everything, and I thought that those were decent enough money. They were both showing right around 100,000 miles, so it might be 1.1. I don't know, a Mack truck, whether they roll over or if
Well,
they'll
that'd be a lot of
actually.
miles for a dump truck, because a dump truck.
So
is
it may
usually
be
short
just, it may be just 100, but that seems,
I mean, I liked the truck we got last year, and I thought it was good. My only concern is, I feel like, we're buying it the worst time there is.
haul.
So I don't know whether we just try to put it off for a year, or 2 years.
Well, all I know is we haven't done anything for a while. Most of these dump trucks, they're starting to scare me. They really are.
How many miles most of our dump trucks have on?
Over 600,000.
So this one that's got 100 and some thousand, if we could find something used, it'd be almost like a new one to us.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody'd like new, it's just right now,
Well, sure.
I just don't see that.
yeah, I was trying to look.
No, I made the one that we priced on 2007 or 8. It was 150, 155, looks like it look cheap now.
I know.
But they did do it, and that's, it's water under the bridge.
So if if prices went down, everything was good, if you got another new dump truck, would you get another one just like the one we got with the spreader? Or do you think the new spreader and the spreaders we have now are good enough?
The spreaders we have now, we've got 2 stainless steel spreaders, so we're all right. They can go out and.
Well, last time I went and looked at it, it looked
Yeah,
like they were band-aided together.
Well, the steel ones, they're junk.
Yeah.
They're gone. Anything.
When you say gone, you mean you haul them back to me, or are they still out there?
So, no, they're still out there. We still use them. They're still
In an
usable,
emergency.
but once they're going to, there's no sense trying to put money into them.
Yeah.
But,
The next breakdown is the death knell for them.
if it's anything major, I guess.
And it just seems like a ton of money to me, but.
I agree, Bryce. But
We sold that one to Kansas Dirt for 25,000 or whatever. You can buy 10 of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like working on old stuff any more than anyone else does. I
No,
like buying new stuff.
I don't know if you guys probably don't know this, but I do. Our repairs should go up. They have, their serviceability it seems we're working on stuff more than we are.
And we're putting 30,000 miles a year on them.
Yeah, 30 to 35. Were you? Yeah.
And how many dump trucks do we have down there total?
5.
We have 5. One of them's new,
One of them's new.
and the rest of them are the,
Then we have an international. And then 3 Sterlings.
yeah, we have 3 that match the Sterlings.
And there's only one of them that takes step.
And which one, yeah, which one would you replace? Would you replace the international or one
No,
of the Sterlings?
probably one of the Sterlings.
Do we need 5? You
Yes,
need 5?
yes.
I would, yeah, I mean,
I mean.
I trust that you need 5, I wasn't
mean,
questioning you, I was just trying to figure out.
For how we seal and stuff, 5 is.
Yeah. I was just trying to figure out if you didn't need 5.
Yeah.
Stuff, because the caveat to this stuff bringing so much money is that our stuff that we have is worth a bunch of money, you know, our used stuff. So you get some of that back, but not proportionally to new.
No.
I was just trying to figure out if we could get,
So,
but if you need 5, you need 5.
I mean, we're getting into a catch-22 on all our stuff right now. Because, okay, we got one loader that's fairly new, and then we got one that's 14 years old, 15 years, no, 15 years old. And then we got graders that are 21, 22 years old, so I mean, we're starting to get in this catch-22 thing, and I mean.
But you know, since I've been on the board, I mean, we bought a grader, new dump truck, loader, new mowers. So I mean, it's not like we're sticking our head in the sand, not doing
No,
anything.
we're not.
You know, I mean, you're gonna have older stuff and newer stuff, and you replace your older stuff. And I do think I'd like to buy another new dump truck, I just hate the idea of buying at the high.
Oh, well.
And I think that's right where we're at right now.
In the next year, we're gonna look at probably more tractors. I mean, if we're
And then a
going
grader
to.
at some point.
Yeah, and we need to look at a grader.
I wonder if we shouldn't really try hard, I don't mind doing something with dump trucks, but I wonder if we shouldn't try to find $100,000 used one.
Yeah, the only thing we probably have to, the only thing that I am adamant about, I wanna get rid of these heavy plows we got in front of these trucks. They're big, heavy plows, they're great plows, but they're hard on our
They're hard
seal.
on.
I mean, I can take you up here and show you where, you know, some damage on our road from what they said was snow plow. I'm not convinced that it is, but that's what the oil people tried to tell me, so.
So, like on the new truck we bought last year, it had what they call a 3-way blade on it? Is that the blade you're talking about?
It's a two-way plow, what they call it, because it's a reversible plow.
Okay, and that's the kind of plow you wanna go
Yes.
to? Okay.
Well, I mean, okay, say, you gotta go 4th Street, you wanna take it all the way down, and you don't wanna have to. So, your north side is the side that needs plowed most of the time in the winter time, so if you can do that, you can run against traffic somewhat and not waste so much time.
Yeah. And it'd make it a lot easier for plowing out intersections.
Oh, yeah, it works wonderful for that, so, yeah, I mean, there's so many advantages to it, and that's just how far equipment's come in the last few years and whatnot.
How much weight do you reckon you save on doing the heavy plow and the newer 2-way plows?
Well, I don't know, I'd have to look, but that thing is made to move some, in that 30-inch snow, once it finally got where it didn't have to have a snoot full, remember that big old snow we got that one time? Because we had put the graders out front, but then that thing would move snow, if you could take half a plow and it would roll some snow on it.
Yeah.
But it is very heavy plow, and the front ends had to be beefed up on the trucks.
I mean, that's a lot of weight to sit out there in your
Yes.
frame rails.
Oh, yeah, it is.
What year are your Sterlings? Roughly, I mean,
Early 2000s at the moment. I mean, they're
So if we were
probably in the 90s, actually.
if we were gonna buy a used truck, we'd want it within 10 years, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you might as well buy.
So buy new.
And I would really say 5.
I
To
would
get
say-
it better, I mean, it depends on how long you're gonna try to run them. When we first did those dump trucks, we basically thought we would be a 10-year serviceability.
Yeah.
Because they were used. Well, we're already pushing this,
Yeah.
we're already pushing the envelope on that.
If we could find 2 trucks that are under 5 years old with less than 100,000 miles for 100,000 a piece, I'd be all in favor of
I
that.
don't know what you're gonna find them for that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a hell of a deal.
Hey, if you're gonna wish, you might
Hey,
as
you might as well wish big.
well, you know.
It looks like Missouri DOT lined up a bunch on Purple Wave, but they're all 2006 to 11s. But they got 20 of them here on Purple Wave, but like you say, they're all internationals too. And I don't know
Yeah,
if that's the
they're not.
direction you wanna go.
They're not set up to, Canvas truck is actually a better truck the way they have it set up, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never took a close look at Missouri's.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm thinking that somewhere out there in the United States, there's a truck that's 5 years old
No.
for sale.
Nome, Alaska.
Yeah. They'll fly up there and drive back.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Preferably somewhere south of Nebraska, so they're not in salt every day.
Yeah.
Because that's a big deal with a snow type truck. If they're out spreading salt, our trucks don't spread salt near like
No, not like they do with.
up north of Nebraska or
Wow.
northern Nebraska. They
And they use
salt
a
every
bunch
day.
of salt here.
We do have end dump trailers, don't we?
Yeah, there's 2 in those. And those are good. That's been a good investment.
Yeah.
And we're probably gonna have to invest in a tractor before too long. That one's fairly old.
Mower tractor.
No.
Oh, good truck.
Truck tractor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll tell them we're just gonna hold it how we are. I mean, that's what I'm getting. So,
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do.
okay.
It seems that. And I don't know when or if it'll ever come down.
Oh, okay. But this comes to you, right?
Yeah, I put the copy, I had to make a copy of my.
And you wanna talk, we need to get you up to speed on the Fisher pit, but I wanna do it in executive just to keep, and then we can
Adjourn after that.
adjourn after that.
We met with the fire department, the chief's meeting, a week ago, or no?
Yeah,
We met with them and
2 weeks ago.
one of their biggest deals is they've got firefighters on there, it's been on the fire department for like 8 or 9 years and doesn't have their little badge card deals or whatever. So if a tornado come through here, and wiped us out, FEMA come in, none of our fire personnel could come on scene because we don't have our badges.
Well, that's not entirely right, but
Yeah.
in theory it is.
What's your secretary's name? I can't remember her name.
Cindy.
Cindy does an excellent job.
When she gets that information, she does it.
Yeah.
They do not always fill that information out correctly.
So when I-
They wanna take their own no, I'm stopping, but they wanna take their own pictures and sometimes the pictures do not meet the criteria, so.
Yeah, they were wondering if NIMIC could enter the information, because they said the last ones they got, a lot of the whatever code schooling that they've got on the back of the deals were, a lot of them was wrong.
That was because that they were given the wrong information in their stuff.
Yeah, because you have to fill out a form when you do that.
Yeah,
And if they don't fill it out right, she doesn't know.
so here's where we're sitting at, they say they got firefighters that have been on the deal for 10 years, no cards. They say that last time they got them, a lot of the information was wrong. They would like to be able to go on there and fill out the information on the computer to where they just give it to Cindy and all Cindy has to do is press enter and make the cards. But they say it's Phil and her fault and Phil says it's their fault. So what are we
Well,
supposed to do on here?
If she doesn't have the information that's correct, how can she do it?
They said the cards they got where the information wasn't with the right face, with the right name.
I don't know.
Well, that's the first I've heard
Yeah.
about it right now.
Yeah.
Probably didn't proofread.
So,
Is your card up to date, Clay?
No, mine's expired.
Has your information changed?
No. NIMS, what is it, NIMS 3 and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
2, 3,
Whatever
4,
it is.
700.
Have you
You've
got
done
your
that,
card,
haven't
Bryce?
No,
No,
I
I
haven't.
got 2 and 3.
You don't have a card?
No.
No, part that you're supposed to have, but that's.
Yeah.
no, mine expired.
But the bottom line is, if we have a disaster, they're gonna bring in a card making machine, And you're,
Consensus on.
yeah, I mean, they're not gonna let you start entering, coming in, and they're not gonna deny you this.
After acceptance,
Because
but
when
with
we
the
went in to
meeting
go
to
over and
the
help with the
judge,
fire and staff, Reno County a couple of years ago.
Where all the houses got burned up.
Yeah, Selfridge went with the dozer, and they made him a car, and Brister went with the grader. They wanted a grader, and then they didn't do anything with him, but they also made him a card. So, and then these cards are, some of them were doing about 4 years, whatever, but the time on them needs to be extended further out. So, because actually the hospitals bring information all the time, and God, they make cards all the time.
So if they have the forms, they can print the forms out themselves, or they need to get the forms from you? So if they get you those forms, they can get the cards in, say, a month or something?
It won't even take a month.
Yeah.
She usually gets it right out if she has all the stuff.
I didn't even know cards were a thing, so.
Well, it's just in
Yeah.
case of an emergency.
Yeah.
You would need to have access.
They need to get their picture taken where?
They can do it
Well,
the
it needs to
registry
be on a
deeds
white
office.
background, and it needs to be in
Yeah,
a
they can go
JPEG.
up to
At
the
the
register of deeds office.
Register
I'll
of
do 'em.
Deeds, okay.
Yeah.
And then send them down to Cindy on a thumb drive. That's
That's
what
how
we
I
used,
got
they
mine.
used to do. Oh, it may have changed.
That's
Because
how
we
I
did
got
it.
mine.
We did them for the courthouse, and she didn't have any issues.
Mhm.
She did,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. But like I was just wondering how they could do those at fire meetings. You know, instead
You
of
can put
getting
your
every,
camera in a white background.
a white background or
It
black.
has to, it
Yeah,
has to
just
be a
hang a
white
sheet up.
background, doesn't it?
Hang a sheet up and just
Yeah.
take a picture with your cell phone.
Just like a passport
Yeah,
photo.
just a solid, like,
So
white
is your
background.
camera phone or your cell phone a digital?
If you get a good enough quality one, it should work, which a lot of the newer ones have a good
Yeah,
enough
I mean,
resolution.
you know, it's a
That
headshot.
PNS was taking
Yeah.
pictures for those suppressors with his cell phone
Yeah,
for the federal government on Form
Yeah.
4. I mean,
but it needs to be a black background or a white
White.
background?
White.
Has
okay.
to be a white background, stand out, headshot, so you can see all your identifying features.
Okay.
Saying a lot of this incident command stuff has changed, this ICS stuff has changed. So I'm not sure what any of them have anyway.
Okay.
Because I don't even think it lists on mine what I have.
Mine just says county commissioner.
I don't,
Mine says sheriff.
So you don't even have a firefighter badge, right? Or fire?
No, so I just got my commissioner.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we get them that come in and they want, okay, I'm, for example, the police department, okay, I'm also EMT, so I want one for that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, really? First of all, the machine doesn't like to do that.
But when I was buying a new sleeping bag at the Coleman place in Wichita, they asked me if I was a firefighter or EMT, you get 25% discount.
Oh,
I said, yeah. They said, let me see your card. I said, I don't have it. I said, I got my commissioner card. And they said, all right, we'll give it to you. So I can see, I don't know, so I will tell
Yeah, I mean,
them, I will tell them to get the forms, get the pictures, and give them to you guys, and you guys can get the cards back within a month.
And if they get it and find out it's wrong, go back to Cindy and say, hey, this is the
Okay.
wrong picture. I mean,
Yeah.
she doesn't know a lot.
It sounds
of
like
stuff.
But you gotta remember, on our volunteer fire department, we don't have anybody that works down there 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
No.
They
That's
do it
true.
when they have time,
That's
Now,
true.
Pat-
and most of the time, Pat works down there quite
Yeah,
a bit.
Pat wanted to come in and do some listing of the inventory they have, because the state always wants that stuff, whether you're going to let them borrow, or they want to know what resources are available, so if they would call Stafford County, and they had actually called me to want to know if we had any trucks available, we could send such and such. And so I have to call Marshall. I mean, I don't know, I don't feel that that's my job and I'm at liberty to tell him what he can do with his equipment, what not.
I know they said something about registering their fire trucks to where they could go down to counties, and if they're registered with the state and they go help us, say, Medicine Lodge, then they get paid.
yeah, there's
But
big
they said
reimbursement.
they've gotta go through you, because you have the state access code to get those trucks on the state inventory.
So, yeah, he asked about it, and I tried to get him set up with it, and I didn't, but he's gonna have to come down there and use the computer when we are there,
Yep.
because I don't want access.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I mean, I think Pat's did, you know, the guy that comes around and does the internet stuff. He said, you know, limiting access.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I get that, I mean, that,
And I talked to him about that, and so, I've never seen him again.
yeah.
I mean, everybody's busy with doing all sorts of stuff, so.
Okay. You got anything else? We'll end with 5-minute executive, no action. We don't have anything else, Nicole? Nothing else?
Nothing
That we
that,
need
I
to
mean,
do. Okay.
Clay.
Clay, you got anything else?
Nope.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for 5 minutes to discuss real estate purchase, ending with no action, including Phil, commissioners, and these two.
And we'll adjourn after.
Yeah, and we'll adjourn after.
A second.
Oh, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Carol.